I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, May the 19th, brought to you in part by Taleve by Norbrook. Unbreaking news, Taleve is a generic tulathromycin injection from Norbrook that is highly effective, broad spectrum antibiotic for the treatment of BRD, pink eye, foot rot, anything else that comes along. It's exclusively in plastic bottles, so you don't have to worry about breaking them. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Issues affecting the industry. We talk about the market all the time, but we always have issues affecting the industry. They were talked about on Wednesday in Washington, D.C., and we had the NCBA president, Todd Wilkinson, there speaking on behalf of the beef industry, talking about different things that were affecting the industry, and they had other animal agriculture leaders there that were also speaking, but several things that were in his testimony is they were basically asking the USDA to address certain things. One of them was to set the record straight on climate issues. It seems like we've kind of gotten out of hand, or I know we've gotten way out of hand, blaming cattle for a lot of the climate issues there, and they need to get the record set straight on that. He was asking them to work more on export markets, which is always a good thing. Further expanding our beef processing, which we saw that expand a bunch during the pandemic, and we'd like to see that continue to kind of take more of the fat cattle off the shelf there. Then he had some other things in there that maybe not everybody agreed with, but it is NCBA's policy, and like it or not, that is your voice for the industry. And you say, no, I'm an RCAFer, or I follow U.S. Cattlemen's Association. Well, they're not really recognized when you get right down to it. NCBA has more members, and you say, well, I haven't paid my dues for 5 years or something like that. They're not going to take you off the record books, guys. And if you're feeding cattle with a member feed yard, you're going to be a member. If you're a member of one of the lower grassroots or state level ones that's an affiliate of them, you're going to be a member. So you're going to get counted for sure. And we just don't have enough following in some of these other trade organizations to get recognized. But the ones that they were also talking on and saying that the entire industry was behind them, whether you guys are or not, is basically for the USDA to back off on efforts to address the lack of competition. Now, we've seen the Magoo administration come out, and why they've gotten on that I'm not sure, and they're wanting to address a lack of competition. They were basically wanting to blame a lot of the food inflation due to the pandemic on the lack of competition in some of the markets. That's come off a little bit, but it's still one of the things that they are supposed to address and look at as they're looking at the Farm Bill. But of course, that goes into that legislation that I've been behind for so long, Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. NCBA has been lobbying against that legislation ever since it started. So we're not going to get them to be in favor of it all of a sudden. They're talking to Congress, they're talking to the Ag Committee. Not that many members of Congress and the Senate that are in the cattle business, but two of the main ones, Cindy Hyde-Smith from Mississippi and Deb Fisher from Nebraska, are both in there, and they have both poured their heart out on that legislation and been behind it every step of the way for cattle price discovery and transparency. But of course, your big corporate feeders and your corporate packers sure don't want that, and they have told NCBA to be against it. They're against it, and they're using this platform to continue to try to push against things like that. Another issue they talked about was they're wanting USDA to defend the beef checkoff. You can say what you want about the beef checkoff, but the beef checkoff is almost entirely for NCBA to do with what they want. Of course, they apply for the funds just like anybody else, but they get most all of it. I might divvy up a little bit here and there to some other people, but They're wanting USDA to defend beef checkoff because people are all the time wanting to do referendums on it and look into the ways that they're spending the money and things like that, and they don't like it. They're also wanting them to oppose the OFF Act, which I'm kind of neutral on right now. A lot of it sounds good, but some of the players that are behind it, like Spartacus and some of them, they've got agendas that they're pushing through that, and one of them is to get rid of CAFOs, which are basically feedlots and things like that. So you just can't be for something like that, and I'm not for it, and neither is NCBA, but they're wanting to USDA to defend the beef checkoff. But the main one I wanted to talk about is they have asked USDA to continue with the development and implementation of animal disease traceability. Sounds great. I mean, definitely going to need that. We've seen the poultry industry and the pork industry deal with just devastating diseases that's come in there and through their industry on an ear. Thank goodness there's not very many independent producers that participate in those industries. It's almost entirely a corporate thing in both of those industries, but it does throw them for a loop. But they said that they're pretty much wanting to get the EID tags mandated. I've told you guys several times that National Corporate Beef Association is going to try to cram mandatory ID down our throat, whether we want it or not. That's the one fix that they mentioned there, testifying and answering questions there at the House Ag Committee is about we need the animal disease traceability. Of course we do, but they mentioned the EID tags and needing to get rules and regs put in for that. Well, you don't need rules and regs for a voluntary program. And the president actually said in there that the industry was totally against this, and in the last 15 years now they're totally for it. Everybody wants it. I don't know that the small producer wants it. Andy Berry there out of Mississippi, he's invited the president to go down into Mississippi and see why it won't work down there. I've told you guys before, it doesn't take very long for me to decide what side of an issue I'm on when it comes to the cattle business. If it's something that's going to force small producers out, and so many of our small producers are on the older side, if it's going to push them out faster, I'm against it. And mandatory IDs, mandatory EID tagging, that is going to force more of our older, smaller producers out of the business. Not everybody comes from a long line on a ranch family. Not everybody has inherited a big operation with all kinds of facilities and everything. Not everybody is feeding for some kind of a branded program. Not everybody is using EID tags, and a lot of people aren't even using just the old style ID tags. But they don't have the facilities. What about the guy that's 70 years old, been in the cattle business all his life and working day jobs here and there? He's 70 years old, got a 24-foot gooseneck. He pulls it with a 1992 half-ton pickup. He's got one home place there where he's got some cows, and then 6 other small lease places. He tries to run around and check his cattle as often as he can. No facilities. How is this going to work for him? And like it or not, for your sale barns, that is their core customer, is their small customers, guys. We keep forcing these small independent producers out of the industry, and our end game, which is going to be complete vertical integration, comes that much faster. But I'm going to stave it off as long as I can. I'm not sure how you guys feel about it. Yes, we do need to impose some kind of a disease traceability. Seems like we've always been able to trace them back before. I don't know why all of a sudden it's not going to work. Maybe if we quit bringing beef in from foreign countries that we know have had and do have foot and mouth disease and things like that, we wouldn't be nearly as susceptible to it as we are. Just a thought from me. Your cattle on feed report's coming out here on Friday. I think it's got some room to be bullish. So many times your average and analyst guess is so optimistic or so bullish just on their guesses that they don't leave any room, but I think they have left some room. Your inventories on May 1st, cattle on feed is estimated to be 96.7. A lot of people are short of cattle, guys, even though there was a lot of calves on feed still. But placements in April, they've got them pegged at 95.9. They may have been paying a little more attention to the receipts and the auctions than they should have. The receipts and the auctions have been staying up because in some places, of course, we've had some rain here in the last week or two, but some places it was too dry to turn out. So guys had to sell the cattle that they had been getting ready for grass. Of course, the market was good. They weren't worried too much about having to sell them. They was actually excited about selling them. In a lot of cases, the guys made more money than they were hoping to make, turned them out for a full term. But we've just been selling cattle back and forth to each other. And now we've got some moisture around. Now we're turning cattle back out. We have put some cattle on feed due to dry conditions or no water and things like that. But 95.9, I think that could leave a little room. And your range of guesses range from 90.5% to 99.6. So they didn't really know either. Marketings are fairly low at 90, but they're usually pretty close on that. But check out the cattle on feed report coming out here today on Friday at 2 o'clock Central. Let's look at your board. June live cattle futures up again, up 70 cents, 165.52. Still about $12, $13 back of what your top market is in the northern plains, but only about $4.50 from the southern plains. But August up 50 cents at 163.62. Your back months on live cattle up 67, up 102. May feeder cattle up 155 at 206.10. August up 335 at 234.50 on these August feeders, guys. There ain't no telling what these green grass yearlings are going to bring coming off here late this summer. But my gosh, the only best way we know to try to gauge what that could be is that August feeder cattle contract, nearly 235. Wow, based on an 800 pounder. Back months were all up huge, up 247 to up 327. And the grains weren't lower. December corn, new crop corn up 1 3/4 cents, sitting right at the $5 bushel, $5 3/4 a bushel. November new crop beans down 1/2 cent at 11.87. Kansas City hard red winter wheat, thinks maybe they overdid it on the going up last week, down 28.5 cents, but still setting up there high at 8.57 a bushel. Let's talk about your fat cattle trade that fully developed on Thursday. Steady to firm, maybe a buck higher in spots in the northern plains, and just steady, which we thought steady would be a victory this week, but still kind of thought maybe they had an opportunity to get it a little bit higher. But Iowa sold 1,900 head confirmed on Thursday, just 7,800 head for the week. Got a lot of work to do yet, but not a lot of cattle ready anywhere. Live sales in Iowa from 177 to 178. I did hear that one major had some 179 if they could find some good cattle, and that was later in the day on Thursday. So if that showed up, that would have shook some cattle loose. Dress trade at 280 in Iowa. Nebraska 1,400 head confirmed on Thursday, 5,800 head for the week. Live sales 176 to 178. Dress sales from 280 to 281. Kansas 2,700 head on Thursday, just 4,000 for the week. They've got a lot of work to do too. Live sales from 168 to mostly all 170. If you remember on Wednesday, some northern plants come down into Kansas and give 173.5 for a pen of good cattle and give 176 for some others. And then we end up trading the bulk of them at 170. Kind of frustrating. Texas 4,300 head on Thursday, just 200 more than that for the week, and all at 170, except for on the Fed Cattle Exchange Central Stockyards. They did sell some bid the grid cattle that would be the base price, and then go on the grid with a base price bid and accepted at 171. So kind of surprised why we couldn't get 171 on a direct basis. But Shipshewana, Indiana, they sold fat cattle on Thursday from 170 to 192. You got to have competition, guys. That's the only way you can get the big prices. Talk about your box beef cutout values. They were mixed. Choice was up 16 cents at 298.31. Selects up 72 at 283.61. Your slaughter 504,000 through the first 4 days of the week. That was down 2,000 from last week at the same time, and up 8,000 from the same week a year ago. Your actual slaughter for the week ending May the 6th had your average dressed steer carcass weight at 895 pounds. Talk about what else is going on. Safeguard Wormer is powered by fembendazole, and Safeguard is highly effective with all formulations, and you can do it at the chute or in the pasture or in their feed. They're all proven to kill over 91% of the worms in cattle, guys. The first 50 people to text the word doser, not dozer, but doser, to a text number 48109. The first 50 people that do that, you're going to get a Safeguard Power Doser. So check that out, guys, and it doesn't cost anything. Just do it. And if you want more information about Safeguard, go to safeguardworks.com. Talk about your feeder cattle markets, your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Thursday, sitting at 202.88, down 33 cents. And I was actually surprised that it was down because we have some really stick-out sales all around and some really good markets. But just as a whole, when you put them all together in a 7-day moving average, it was down 33 cents. This weekend, I'm going to be going out to East Texas, Henderson, Texas, to production sale there on Saturday, and then down to Columbus, Texas. My friends at Cattleman's Brenham Livestock Auction, they also own the auction down there at Columbus, Texas. Going to be having a replacement female special there on Sunday. So if you guys are around, come by. Let's talk about your big sales on Thursday. Pratt, Kansas, winter livestock, 2,100 head. Market was steady to $4 higher, spots sharply higher. I thought a stick-out deal here on some big yearling steers, 55 head of them in the ring in Pratt, Kansas, weighed 851 at 219.75. My goodness, guys, that is huge. How about Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas? Just 2,000 head there. Didn't have a good test of the market, higher undertone. But check out this stick-out sale in Salina. 60 head, 842 pound steers, bring 222. We were struggling to cling to $2 here just about 10 days ago, sure 2 weeks ago. And now we're all the way back up there, higher than what we were before we saw that drop whenever your negotiated sellers lost their leverage on the fat cattle market. But your National Beef Wire stick-out sale of the day was Mitchell Livestock Marketing in Mitchell, South Dakota. 3,400 head there, and they were mostly bigger, steady to $4 higher for the most part. You look at the best tested weights of steers, 247 head of 9-weight steers, average 950 pounds with a weighted average price of $194.96. Wow. Go down to the heifers and the bigger heifers. 666 head of 8-weight heifers, averaged 848 with a weighted average price of $186.10. 437 head of 9-weight heifers, averaged 931, weighted average price $180.65. Talk about a hot sale. Hottest sale in the Southeast was Elite Livestock Sales. That's my friends that used to be at Montgomery Stockyards. Got kind of pushed out of there. Started up an online sale with help from DV Auction. I think they'll get them all eventually, guys. They have just been lights out on their sales. And it's not really a board sale, it's a video auction, guys. They're taking good video of those cattle. You can preview the videos on dvauction.com. You can call Jerry Etheridge or Daryl Stokes or or Chuck Bradley or Wesley Grantham or any of the team there. They've got a hell of a bunch of good guys there, and they all know what they're doing. But man, did they have a hot sale at their new headquarters, not far from the old Montgomery Stockyards there in Montgomery. But check out this top sale. It was 3E Cattle Company from Hope Hull, Alabama. They sell 3 loads of steers, all black, to weigh 800 pounds here within the next week to 2 weeks. Bring 216 and a quarter, guys, down there in Alabama. And talk about Alabama, they sold a load of mixed steers and heifers for the lead singer of Alabama, Randy Owen. Raised his Herefords there and sold a split load of Herefords on there. I thought that was kind of unique, guys. But they had several people there on hand at their new headquarters. They had a lot of people bidding online through DV Auction, guys. People are watching that sale. If you guys got loads of yearlings to sell, or even loads of calves at other times of the year, get a hold of them. Elite Livestock Sales. How about another stick-out sale? Valentine Livestock Auction, Valentine, Nebraska. Talked to Greg Arndt. He told me about a load of fall-born heifers belonged to the Haas family there. Weighed 604 pounds and bring $2.56 a pound on heifers, guys. That's a big-time quote. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday, your Mackerson No BS top quote for the day, come out of Mitchell Livestock Marketing, which was our stick-out sale there. 57 head of steers, weighed 944 and bring 205 and a dime. That's your feeder flash for Friday.